Al Graf and myself, as the 4 Long Island Republican members of the Education Committee, wrote a letter to the Budget Director after the governor had decided to do away with the normal tradition of putting school aid runs out accompanying his executive budget proposal. We're now past the 30-day amendments. This information still has not been provided, and the governor continues to basically hold our schools and our children hostage to policy reforms that he wants enacted in the budget. We're here today to again call on the governor to release this information, and we have many people joining us this morning, and to talk a little bit more and introduce them, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Assemblyman Dean Murray.
Thank you, and thank everyone for being here today. The issue that we're talking about today is frankly, it's budgeting, but it's also bullying, basically. Now, there's such thing as negotiations, and that's fine. But when it comes to the point where the governor starts bullying our teachers, our school boards, our superintendents, and the legislature, to be honest, when it comes to that point, he's crossed the line. So we're here today to say, Governor, do the right thing. Release the school aid runs so that the people up here with us today, they can do their jobs as well. Because frankly, that's how the process is supposed to work. When the governor introduces his budget proposal, he is supposed to allow or ask SED to release the school aid runs so that our school boards and the superintendents can get to work and roll up their sleeves, get to work, and put together good budgets that can be proposed to the public for their approval. Without this process, when you stop it from the very beginning, you stop the entire process. But that's my take on it, and of course we have other members of the Assembly Education Committee and other members of the Assembly with us here today, so I'll take a break here and introduce Dave McDonough, if you'd like to say a few words, and then I'll introduce a few others.
Thank you, Dean. I also want to hear from those education professionals that are with us today. It's simply stated, this is about our children, and that's what it's all about. And the governor, as you heard, is holding them hostage for his own political purposes, and we're going to hear the effect of that from some of the guests here today. We're going to fight this, and we're going to fight it strongly. We're on the Education Committee, and we're not going to take this. So I'll let others speak now. Thank you.
Also with us today is Assemblyman Al Graf, which is executive.
Well, the governor has declared war on the teachers, on the school districts, and frankly on our students. And if you look at it, the governor, I'm not happy with the way that education's going. I'm not happy with what the governor's doing. Right now, the governor, this is all political for him. He's aiming at the teachers, he's aiming at the school districts, but he's hitting the kids. And that's not acceptable. I mean, how are the schools supposed to do their budgets if they don't have these runs? You know, how are they supposed to know which programs they can keep in place or which programs they can bring back if the governor will not release what the schools will be given in this next budget cycle? So we're calling on the governor, stop being petty, the election's over, get over it, you won, okay? Now it's time to do what's right for our children.
Thank you, Al. And Assemblyman Mike Fitzpatrick.
The governor has proposed some very interesting reforms, and some of them I think are quite good. However, that should not stop our districts from planning for the future. He is saying that they should take the low figure and work from there, but quite frankly, according to our Senate Education Committee Chair, John Flanagan, that is the base. So we know there will be more added. So a realistic school board or school run will help all our districts plan for the future. We're not asking for anything more than that, but just give our school districts the tools they need so that they can be fair to their taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Now I'd like to bring up some of the people that are in the trenches here and need this information. The ones that are fighting to put together the budgets and put things together for our children for the coming year, that are suffering from the governor's actions. First, I'd like to call William Floyd School Board President Bob Vecchio.
Good morning. Like Governor Cuomo, I'm an elected official by my constituents to do a job. And I call on the governor to govern and stop playing politics with our kids. In the state constitution, it says every child is entitled to a sound, basic, free education. It doesn't say only if the governor gets the policies that he wants. Our funding has been shortchanged for years. There's a CFE lawsuit, Campaign for Fiscal Equity, that tells the governor how much he's supposed to be funding education, and he continues to ignore that as well. So I call on the governor to govern and do his job so that I can do mine to present a sound, responsible budget to our taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Also with us today is Sayville School Board President John McDonough.
Thank you. And sharing similar sentiments to Bob Vecchio, this governor is using our children as puppets in his petty game. It's time he cuts the strings and let us do our jobs. Like him and the Assemblymen behind me, we were also elected officials. We have no idea what our budget's going to be. He needs to release the state aid runs, and on top of that, we also need to have the full restoration of GEA. My district itself is losing approximately $901 per student. That's a significant amount of money. On top of the fact we don't have our state aid runs, enough is enough, Governor. Govern, do your job, and allow us to do ours. Thank you.
Very good. We also have Mike Legurcio from the Longwood School Board.
Thank you, Assemblyman. And as my school board colleagues before me, I echo their words as well. The residents of Longwood, as all Long Islanders, we want and we certainly expect a quality education for our children. And we as school board officials cannot provide what our children deserve without our fair share of state aid. Those funds are supported by our taxpayers who deserve and expect a return on their investment. The numbers need to be realistic and we need to know them in a timely fashion. Anything less than that is just unfair, and quite frankly, it's irresponsible. We urge the governor to work in partnership with the legislature and to do what is right for public education. Thank you.
And we've heard from several school board members, but we'd also like to send the message to the governor. It's a wide variety of people that are being affected by this, including our teachers. So I'd like to call up June Smith from NYSED for a few comments as well.
Thank you. You don't have to be paying a lot of attention to what's happening in Albany to realize that the governor is not happy with the teachers. We didn't endorse him. We believe we had a list of good reasons for making that decision. He sees it otherwise and feels that we need to be punished for that decision. He's proposed a number of things that he claims will improve the schools. We believe it will make public education worse in New York, and it is being done to punish us. Unfortunately, in the process of punishing us, he's taken hostages. The school boards, the schools, the communities, the kids, and they don't deserve to be hostages. We need to deal with the governor on the teacher issues, but they don't need to pay the price for our decisions. We urge him to allow the districts to do their jobs. They work very hard at developing budgets with community input, budgets that are transparent. That process takes time, and they need the information to do it adequately. We urge him to release the runs and allow them to do their job. Thank you.
Thank you, June. We've heard from school board members, we've heard from the teachers now, and we also have the superintendents, and we have several superintendents here, by the way, but Roberta Gerald will be speaking. She is the superintendent of the Middle Country Central School District, as also the president of the Suffolk County Superintendents Association. So a few words from you.
There's so much I want to say, but I don't have a lot of time to say that. What I do want to say, I guess most importantly, is that the Suffolk County school superintendents understand the politics that are going on. And we asked the governor, and I have a letter to the governor that I'll share with all of you, just to do two things. We asked him first to remove from this process, this political process and this political agenda, the budgeting process with schools, because we need to get our work done. We need to make sure that our programs are ready for our kids come September, and we cannot do that if we can't get our budget work done. And so we asked him just to think carefully and not distort the educational process by bringing in a slew of political agenda. And we also ask this. We say we're the experts in terms of instructional processes. I'm not sure that he believes it, but we do know a lot about education. We do know what works, and we are volunteering our time to make sure that we have reforms in place that really bring about what the governor says that he wants. And we know that the reforms can't be rushed into place. We saw what happened when we were enforced APPR implicitly, and we don't want to have that happen again. So we ask that he divorce from the political process, the budgeting process, and we ask that he allow us to offer our expertise to create an educational system that serves all of our students well. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, as I said, you've heard from lawmakers, you've heard from the school boards, you've heard from the teachers, you've heard from the superintendents. I want to mention this too. There are a couple of parents here as well who've come out here because this is how important this is. It affects every single level of education. And when the governor is playing these games, he is affecting every single level of education. Again, I said it in the beginning when I started off, I said this is nothing more than bullying. That's exactly what it is. It needs to stop. He needs to release the school aid runs now. I'll turn it now back over to Assemblyman Ed Ross.
Just in terms of concluding here, people might have seen over the weekend there was a big article talking about the local portion of the current APPR system and how the numbers are being configured and all these things. And the governor yesterday actually said he was going to call for a real investigation into these numbers. Well, let's be honest here, Governor. This is your evaluation system we're talking about. And it's an evaluation system that was brought about by very much the same tactics that the governor's using in this budget. That is, holding our school districts hostage, holding their funding to get an evaluation system put into effect. So if that evaluation system, which we agree is fatally flawed, which the governor talks about as being so bad, came about by using these same tactics, why should we think that these tactics are not going to again create another disaster in our educational system? Governor, let your policy proposals sink or swim on their own merits. Stop holding our kids hostage and do the right thing. On behalf of everybody here, do the right thing, give our districts the information they need to be able to plan their budgets. Does anybody have any questions? All right, well, thank you.